Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. You know, as I said, I sincerely believe that each person in our life has something unique to contribute to us. And I'm going to tell you about somebody that I work with. His name's Mike, who has contributed some pretty cool things to me, I think. Now, Mike's been with our agency for over 30 years, and I've worked with them for over half of my career now, over 10 years. And, you know, he's made some great contributions to our forecasting program in the office, and he's talented in many other ways. But he really leaves us a colorful legacy just because of his unique personality. And that's what I'm going to focus on. Now, he's mastered forecasting, you know, obviously 30-year career in the Weather Service, he's pretty good at it. But he's got artistry in other areas too. Photography, composition. I can hand him something that's like a finger painting, and he can take it and transform it into a Renoir with a few mouse clicks and keystrokes. He's very talented that way, but his talent really shines through in language and how he uses language. Now, Mike's just to give you a sense of how he is, you know, he's a very humble person. I like to say that he's one of those people that are almost competitively humble. You know, you go up against them, and you got nothing on them in humility, right? So it's sort of an ironic thing. The only way you can beat them is to acknowledge that they're more humble than you. Now, some people think he has a gloomy outlook. You know, we used to have this administrative assistant that said she gave him a nickname, called him Eeyore, and that's, you know, the character from Winnie the Pooh. He's got sort of a gloomy, real pessimistic, cynical outlook on things, and you know, he's like, oh, what's the use? It doesn't make any difference anyway. You know, it fits Mike perfectly in a lot of ways. The only difference is when you interact with Mike, it's not a downer. You actually get lifted up with these interactions. You know, Mike's a big worrier. He worries about all kinds of little things. And when you could ask him at almost any time, you know, it's like, well, you're not worried about this, are you, Mike? Well, I'm always worried. You know, it's such an integral part of who he is. It's like a need to worry. You know, it's like food. Are you hungry, Mike? Well, I'm always hungry. That's the kind of guy Mike is. And, you know, like I said, his artistry shines through so much in his use of language. We used to have this state meteorologist, Bill Mork was his name, and we've got these expressions around the office now that are called Morkisms. And they're these trite little expressions about the weather. You know, he might say something like, it rains easy in wet weather. You know, but Mike's are a little more sophisticated than that. And so we deal with these troughs of low pressure that come in and bring the rain in, and the stronger, the deeper the trough, the more stormy it is, the more rain we get, except we have these things called atmospheric rivers that they tap into the tropical moisture in the Pacific, and they bring it up into California and just dump all kinds of rain and give us flooding. And under those conditions, the trough is a little displaced, and it's actually a ridge of high pressure over us, ironically. So, you know, you're working with Mike, and you say, well, you know, this trough's not as strong. It looks like the precipitation is not going to be as heavy. Mike says, well, yeah, but it rains harder in the ridges. You know, so that's an anachronism. It rains harder in the ridges. It stays with us now. But one that is not weather-related that he has that I remember is, you all might know, there's at the corner of Howe Avenue and Arden Way, there's a little shopping area, and there's this cutesy little plaque on the corner that says, how about Arden? And so Mike comes into work one day, and you know, we work pretty much at the intersection of Watt and El Camino, and he's talking about, you know, how about Arden? What about El Camino? Mike says. So he's very clever that way, but you know, he's the title of my speech, the master of the mixed metaphor. Okay, this is where he comes in. This is where he really shines, is in mixing these idioms and metaphors. And you know, people do this all the time. They mash up the idioms and metaphors, but it's very clumsy. It's out of ignorance. They might take something like an expression like, it's in the pipeline. You know, it's in the pipeline. It's working its way. It's going to get to us. And then they'll take the one that's you know, it's coming down the pike, meaning it's coming down the road. It's going to get to us. And they bring them together to say, it's coming down the pipe, you know, which doesn't, it kind of loses its meaning in that process. Well, that's not the kind of thing Mike does. What Mike does is he might take two of these idiomatic expressions and merge them together to kind of tell a story. You know, he might say something like, I stepped up to the plate and I took the bull by the horns, you know. And so that's very clever, but the best one that I can ever remember was he borrowed from the tale of Sisyphus from Greek mythology, where, you know, the king of Corinth, and, you know, what's now Greece, was just was really frustrated with Sisyphus and his chronic deceitfulness. So he compels Sisyphus to push this large boulder up a hill, only to watch it roll back down again, and to do this day after day, forever. And, you know, our job is a little bit like this. We come into work, we do a forecast, we come in the next day, and you have to do it all over again. You know, so, but Mike isn't satisfied with, you know, coming in and saying, we got to push the boulder back up the hill again. You know, that's not futile enough for Mike. He has to take it to a whole nother level. So he borrows from an aphorism that is attributed to General Patton when he was working with his troops and explaining how, you know, what they needed to do regarding leadership. He had a plate of spaghetti or something, and he was pushing on a wet noodle and, you know, couldn't get it to move. He said, gentlemen, what you want to do, you don't want to try to push a wet noodle. You know, you want to pull it for how to interact with the troops. So Mike comes in and he's, you know, says, well, I guess it's time to try to push the noodle up the hill again. You know, so it's I mean, this is like over-the-top pessimism, right? It's like, even if you could take the noodle and were somehow able to push it up the hill, it wouldn't do any good anyway. It would just come back down. It's layers of futility. It's genius, and how could you not be uplifted by that? So it's in, you know, I'm really going to miss working with Mike, because, you know, his joyful pessimism is a lot of fun. And I enjoy mixing metaphors too. Like, you know, I say when I first came into this business, I couldn't tell my smelt from my smolts. You know, it's, I try. But I enjoy these, and so, you know, I'll have fond memories of when Mike and I wrote mixed metaphors together.